Does everyone know what time it is? Toilets to Titles is proud to present Title Time. And here's your hosts, Rich, George, and Jason.
Hey guys, and welcome to Title Time. I'm your host Jason, and with me, as always, I'm gonna give the normal co-host, and then I'll give our special co-host a shout out. So first, I'm gonna go to Frito Bandito, fan of the 1-1 Oakland Raiders.
Yes,
I'm showing my age. Oakland, Las Vegas Raiders.
Hey, no worries. One of the multi-million fans of Raider Nation and everything, but excited to be here for week 3. Man, things are building up, and I hate to say this. This is actually the first week in the season with so many leagues, man. I left Barkley in my lineup in about 3 lineups, so already not starting out on a good note. So there's that.
It happens, that's how I know I'm in too many leagues, and next year I have to back off. I had the same issue, not with Barkley, but what happened to me is I was down to like 8 leagues, and then the last week of the off season, everybody's like, hey, you want to join a league? You want to join it? I'm like, yeah, I could draft again. Man, and then you bury yourself. I'm going to move on to George down below me, a fan of the 2-2 or 2-0 Miami Dolphins. They haven't moved to Vegas, have they? They haven't moved to Vegas, have they?
We have not moved to Vegas. We have that nice, wonderful home field advantage with the sun down here in Miami. Looking to go 3-0 this week, so everything is going great.
And then, as I mentioned, we have a great guest host here, one of the founders, one of the guys that makes this place run, Coach Sheps, 2-0 Dallas Cowboys fan, representing his team, and he represents his team every week with the Cowboys show here on Toilets to Title. So how you doing this weekend, Coach?
Man, I'm good. There's a lot of moving parts. A lot of things are happening over here, but luckily, we have the, steady Eddie format of the regular season. Things are rolling over at Toilets to Titles. I'm excited to be here to answer some start-sit questions. Usually on Sundays, I watch football on my phone because my kids play travel soccer and they have us going all over the place. And if you're living up in the Northeast and watching Title Time this morning, we've been hit by a ton of rain. So all those games got canceled last night. So I knew today I could set up, I could get my coffee with my Disney mug, which I know Jason will appreciate, and I can answer some questions with you fellas.
Guys, it's week 3. As a collective here, our teams are 7-1, so it's been a good season. I can't usually say that as a Buccaneer fan, so far so good, although I think we're going to run into a buzzsaw Monday night. But, man, before we get into the start-sit questions, I'm going to start with Coach. Aside from your favorite team, what game are you most looking forward to this weekend?
Oh man, probably Patriots Jets. That one I think is very interesting. The Jets beat Buffalo week 1. They played Dallas. They lost. Now it's week 3. I believe New England is 1-1 as well, if I'm not mistaken. So it's 2 teams. Oh, so New England's 0-2. So one of those. So New England could go 0-3. The Jets could go 1-2. There's a lot of division specific implications. And to be honest, I'm not really. The AFC doesn't scare me at all anymore. I feel so unafraid of these AFC teams. And I mean, the Bills. I think the Bills are a train wreck waiting to happen. So one of these 2 teams could be, Miami's legit. But as far as the depth outside of the top teams in the AFC is what I mean. We looked at the quarterbacks going into the season with Josh Allen and, Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert and the Chargers are 0-2. But I'm one of these 2 teams could possibly be there behind the Dolphins as the number 2. And I think it'll be a little bit of a battle.
Well, speaking of the Dolphins, George, you can't pick them, but if they weren't playing today, who would be your team to watch, your game to watch?
So the game I'm looking forward to is going to be the Chargers Vikings. From a fantasy perspective, like that game is just going to be so much fun to watch. Should be a lot of scoring on both sides of the ball. I'm also interested in that Patriots Jets game. For the first time this year, I will be rooting for the Patriots because I would like to see them get off the schneid and get to the elusive 1-2 record, and that would also put the Jets at 1-2, and it would just put further separation between the Dolphins and the Jets and the Patriots within the division.
Yeah, I'm actually looking forward to that game a lot. I mean, not for offense, obviously, because I don't think either offense is going to be good.
There's not going to be a lot of offense in that game at all.
I think the Jets should feed Brees. I think Brees Hall needs to be. You can't give this guy 4 touches. I'm sorry.
No, that was a giant mistake last week for sure.
It was a Jet mistake, actually.
Yeah, there you go. That's awful.
That was a New York
Frito, what game are you looking forward to?
I'm actually looking forward to the Lions-Falcons game. I know, I mean, there's a couple injuries going on. Amon is kind of nicked up and everything, but man, I just want to see every opportunity of Bijan Robinson. We have this little short going out of this little play he made last week. Man, it looks electrifying, and I just want to see more of that. I want to see with Montgomery being out, I want to see how they use Gibbs, just and see how he fits into this. If Montgomery is ever permanently out, I want to see how he fits into this. The other game is I want to see not the Texans, but the Titans and the Browns. I want to see another player, exciting player, is Tyjae Spears. I want to see how if he gets more involved in every week as he gets get involved in. So I want to see this both games. Very excited about him.
Yeah, it's Tyjae Spears is a guy that you could have heard about here on Toilets Titles coming out of the Senior Bowl. He was a guy that everybody that went to the Senior Bowl was really high on, thought he was one of the best running backs, if not the best running back there. And then when he got drafted by the Titans, we all thought that was a great spot for him, especially considering the age of Derrick Henry and the fact that he's getting a little bit long in the tooth. So it's not long before he takes over, although he's already had more snaps. So it may have already begun. But it's a good thing behind that run juggernaut. Go ahead, Coach.
I said this since before redraft season. He is like every year there's a player that you can kind of like I don't have a crystal ball, all the time. Only Shep Stradamus does. But there's a lot of players year in and year out who pop up down the stretch, break out down the stretch, and give your fantasy team a shot in the arm. Tyjae Spears, I said it since the summer. I could just tell he is going to be that player that is going to give you that shot in the arm. That's why I had him as my rookie RB4, which a lot of people were like, whoa, he's behind Derrick Henry. I was like, Derrick Henry hasn't been healthy the last 2 years, and this kid's got juice, and the Tennessee Titans have nothing to lose. They have nothing there. They might be at a point during the season where they just want to sell jerseys. They want to feel like if you have a hot rookie, right? Then let's quote the Mugatu, who's so hot right now, like a Tyjae Spears, you're going to play him. And I think Tyjae Spears is the type of player that should not be available in any leagues. He is worth stashing because starting week 7, week 8, he is going to be your guy and he's going to pump blood into your system down the stretch.
I picked him up in a waiver wire yesterday morning.
Smart.
Yeah. And one more thing before we get into the questions that we have, I do want to mention toiletstitle.com for all your fantasy football needs, all your NFL news and notes. Toiletstitles.com. You can go to patreon.com/toiletstitles. What we said last week is that we have a tier for every salary. So, we have it starting at $1.50, and then we have the $1 million tier where Joe will come to your house, make you dinner, and spoon with you at night if you need it. So, we have tiers for every, from a guy who's pumping gas to a guy who like Elon, who's got a lot of money. We've got a tier for you with all kinds of, look, we've got giveaways going. October is Bring a Friend Month to Gilded. We've got a giveaway going for if you bring a friend over to our Gilded. We've got everything going on. 17 shows, right, Coach? We got 17 shows going Monday through Sunday. Our NFL centric shows just for like basic NFL information and news are during the day, and then our fantasy content's driven at night. We have sports betting shows, daily fantasy type stuff. We've got that going on as well. We've got stuff again Monday through Sunday. And you can catch it all on toiletstitles.com or youtube.com/toiletstitles. And with that, if you are watching and enjoy the show, like and subscribe, ring the bell. That way you can catch us every time we're live and every time we release some content. Come check us out. Also, I do want to mention, so Rival Fantasy Sports is an incredible way to make your bets on the weekend. You can do individual bets on player versus player. You'll see that here later in the show. Go to rival.com, use the code Title Tribe. You'll get an extra, with your first deposit, you get an extra $25 with the code Title Tribe. So guys, go to Rival Fantasy. And I know Justin, if he was here, he'd be pumping up those bingo cards. He actually won a decent amount of money last week playing fantasy bingo. So pretty cool. Go check out Rival. And I think for now, we'll get some more plugs in later, and I'll let Coach do his thing. But we're going to get into some of these questions. And Rams Holic is going to start us off here.
That's Shay. What's up, Shay?
And Shay has a show here on the network. He's a Rams fan. He does the Rams show. Coach, do you know what day it is?
Actually, Shay split off. Shay wanted to do more Rams-centric content. It's all good. So we support Shay. Shay is now, it's the Ramsaholic YouTube channel. I'm sure he can put it in the comments there. And he's doing shorts, mock drafts, all that good stuff. Shay is Rams content 24/7.
Missed that news. Sorry, Coach, but
you're all good. There's enough news going on. It's easy to miss.
Full flex PPR. Atwell, London, Cooks, or Woods this week. I'm going to start with Coach.
All right, so I'm going London. So Woods down there in Houston, he's been solid. London put up a goose egg week 1, only had 1 target. But I think the ceiling is highest with him. Tutu's got the ceiling, and his is more like he only, he can get 6 or 7 receptions, but he's got the opportunity to take the top off the defense at any point. Cooks has been out. He's just coming back with a knee. CeeDee Lamb's been fed. But London, after a goose egg week 1 with only 1 target, last week, 6 receptions, 8 targets, 67 yards, 1 touchdown. He's going in Detroit, and this will be a theme with me. If you listen to my show on Tuesdays, I just love guys playing indoors in an environment where it's going to be a shootout. It's going to be a shootout in Detroit. There's going to be a lot of points scored in this game. I want a shot at that. I think Drake London's going to show out. That's who I'm starting.
Frito? Oh, you're muted, Frito.
We're starting off the right way, Rich. Starting off right.
Yeah, I apologize. Look, Coach has hit it on the well. I'm hitting London too. Look, they got a lot of things good going. Not to mention, according to some notes that I love reading every time I get on this show, is Lions' best QB, C.J. Gardner-Johnson's been ruled out with torn pec. So, look, he has a good opportunity to really produce this weekend. So that's who I'm going out of the 4.
All right, and George.
Yeah, I'm also going Drake London. He was 6 for 67 last week with a touchdown, as Coach mentioned. Rich hit the nail on the head with the Lions' best cornerback, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, out with torn pec. The Lions are bottom 10 against opposing wide receivers, and 3 wide receivers have scored touchdowns against them. I'm going to go with Drake London here. I like his upside.
So you guys had the probable right answer, and typically I'd go that way, but knowing how big a fan of the Rams he is, and fantasy football is supposed to be fun, right, guys? You want to root for the players that you're playing. Like, for me, if I were him, I'd be starting Tutu Atwell, who's played well the first couple of weeks, and it doesn't look like it's going away. It's not like it's, he's done well on 3 targets or 1 target or 2 targets. Like, Tutu Atwell has been a big part of the offense. So if it were me and I'm a Rams fan as big as he is, and it's that close, I'm playing Tutu just because I'm a fan, and it makes that game that much more fun for me. But
you know what else is fun?
Yes,
blowing your opponent out and winning, and you'll do that with Drake London.
All right. So, but that's 3-1, and it's actually, we call that the Jason here, where I get to pick the opposite of all of these guys, because if I'm right, it's awesome, and if I'm wrong, you guys already picked the right player. So it's we do that every week, and I love it. So Bobby Ham here, and this actually covers up the guys at the bottom. But who's the stash ad drop? Rashid Shaheed, Pat Freiermuth, Hunter Henry, Justin Fields, Zach Charbonnet. I mean, there's a list there, guys. I'll let you read them.
I got an answer for that already. Who's the stash? I'm stashing Tajay. You heard us go on that rant. So I'm assuming you're asking who to stash and then who to drop. I don't know. Maybe so.
He's got Sky Moore and Roshan as possible drops.
Okay.
Now that I'm reading all the way through it.
I'm dropping Sky Moore. I have zero faith in Sky Moore. Patrick Mahomes right now, outside of Travis Kelce, is a facilitator. He's a point guard who's got guys around him who are good at particular things, and he knows when he needs to dish them the rock. So Sky Moore isn't going to be that week in and week out. When Tajay Spears becomes the guy, he is going to feast. He is going to help your roster down the stretch. So, and also Roshan, if and when he becomes the guy, he'll be a high floor player week in and week out. He can catch the ball. He can run the ball. So I think I'm going for the floor of Roshan to keep him. And I am dropping Sky Moore and I'm picking up Tajay Spears.
George, you agree with all that?
Yeah, listen, coach is a lot higher on Tajay Spears than I am. I love Tajay Spears, don't get me wrong. He's a phenomenal back. I don't foresee him. I think you're going to have Derrick Henry miss time and a lot of time for Tajay Spears to become fantasy relevant. He's a great NFL running back. Long-term dynasty speaking, love Tajay Spears. The upside's absolutely there. Of those guys, I think, though, I'm picking up Zach Charbonnet and I'm dropping Sky Moore. And the reason why I'm picking up Zach Charbonnet is simply because Kenneth Walker has a very extensive injury history. They spent second-round draft capital on Zach Charbonnet. He hasn't really been utilized as much as we thought he would be, but if you were to ask me who's more likely to miss more time, Kenneth Walker or Derrick Henry, I'm going to say it would be Kenneth Walker. So I think the upside for Charbonnet is a little bit higher. And yeah, I'm definitely dropping Sky Moore. And depending on who your tight end is, I don't know why you don't have Hunter Henry on your team at this point. He is one of the top 5 tight ends in fantasy at this point. So he's not even a pickup and stash unless you've got a guy like TJ Hawkinson or a Travis Kelce. Like Hunter Henry should be on your team.
And Rich.
Yeah, look, George hit it on the nail. I mean, if you really sit there and think about it, I mean, if you want a running back that is going to have more opportunity, look, I like Tajay Spears too. I'm stashing him everywhere too. But if Zach Charbonnet is sitting on the sitting on free agent waiver, and you're wanting to stash somebody, if injuries happen to either these team players, Charbonnet is going to have a bigger workload. He's a bigger body as far as a running back. On the same token, though, he's already started out with injuries for this season and everything, but I do like him better. So if I had to, look, it's Zach Charbonnet, then Spears. Look, I'm not dropping Roshan. Imagine having a running back that is built to be a three down back, but nobody knows about him because he sat behind Bijan Robinson in college and everything, and the focus was on him. If Bijan wasn't there, he'd probably be their starting running back in college, and it's going to be a starting running back once he gets the opportunity in the NFL too. So I wouldn't be dropping Roshan at all.
Roshan was the starting running back in Texas his freshman year. So, which is impressive. Like, he started as a freshman, but also says he's a good teammate that he didn't transfer, and he's a competitor that he didn't transfer. Bijan came in. Roshan accepted the challenge and stayed and did not quit and did not run away. But I'm sorry, Jason, go ahead.
No worries. I was just saying there's a lot of talent there on the waiver wire too. Like Shaheed, Pat Freiermuth has been very underwhelming, so that's not what I'm worried about. But Shaheed has been good both weeks. Henry has been great, especially for the tight end landscape. Justin Fields being there, I can understand after 2 bad weeks. And I did a quick peek at the Chicago Bears schedule to see if it eases up a little bit. Man, they have a tough schedule. Because I was thinking, even in a 1 quarterback league, having Justin Fields out there with his rushing ability but who they play in the next couple weeks, I don't know that I see it getting that much better. But then Charbonnet out there, Tank Bigsby underutilized, and Elijah Moore, who we'll probably talk about some this week. It's been real close for Elijah Moore. If you watched any of that game last week, there was a couple of passes towards the sideline where he was just led just a little bit too far out of bounds, almost got him down a couple of times. Could have been a huge week for Elijah Moore last week. So you got a lot of good options there. But the players you must have on your team to not pick these guys up must mean you're listening to us. That's all I'm going to say. We're going to move on from here, and we're going to go to Saints or welcome back, guys. Saints or Cleveland D. I can actually see you guys again.
I'm going Cleveland defense here. Cleveland is playing the Tennessee Titans. Cleveland has been absolutely phenomenal defense so far this year. I'm going to roll with the Browns.
The only real issue I have with Cleveland's defense at all, and I'll go next, and I'm picking them, but the only real issue I have with them at all is that Watson and that offense puts him in real bad situations a whole lot. So their defense has been great. You're getting a lot of sacks, but they're also giving up a lot of points, and it's literally because of the offense.
Well, the offense hasn't been able to move the ball because they played two pretty damn good defenses the first couple of weeks. That is not the case this week.
All right, Coach. Cleveland
Man, I'm gonna go with Cleveland as well, and I'm kind of a Jordan Love supporter, and I think he's also kind of like a point guard, like I talked about Patrick Mahomes. In his first action, I believe he dished the ball to 8 different receivers, so he knows how to get the ball around. I just think, obviously he doesn't have a Travis Kelce, but he has some tight ends who can play. I think he has better weapons around him than a Patrick Mahomes. So he's no Patrick Mahomes. He's not as talented as Patrick Mahomes, but he could dish it. He could spread it out. And I think it's more likely that he has a day against that Saints defense. So that being said, and also everything you guys mentioned about the Cleveland defense being hungry, like their defense, I got my tail between my legs right now because I talked up to Deshaun Watson all offseason, and Justin was telling me, and I kind of battled with Justin about it. Like, what are you talking about? Deshaun Watson can play, and he has looked like garbage. Now Nick Chubb is gone. If you got Jerome Ford, it's going to be a tough week for you, but do not drop him. Do not drop Jerome Ford because after this week, it'll be okay. He's going to be a solid RB2 week in and week out. But that offense, it doesn't look very good. Elijah Moore, who I expected to be a wide receiver 2 this season, doesn't look very good. So their defense needs to dominate is what I'm saying. And their defense has dominated. So I'm going to go with the Cleveland Browns.
I'll have you know, Coach, Elijah Moore has looked great. He just can't get the ball from freaking Deshaun. Literally open down the field like he was with New York, just not getting the ball. But
he's a player, bro.
Yeah, he could be. He thought he was getting a better situation, and he didn't really. You agree, Rich? You got Cleveland over the Saints? All right, so that's all of us. So roll out Cleveland instead of the Saints.
Autobots, roll out.
We got our buddy from Ukraine, Dustin. Again, we start this every week with stay safe, man. But our buddy from the Ukraine, he's making pizzas for everyone. 2 quick questions. First, B-Rob or Ridley in the flex?
Man, that's tough. Brian Robinson has been hot. I think he's running back 3 right now on the season, and he's been doing it in a way of like, so Brian Robinson, he didn't have one monster performance, and it's carried him through the first few weeks, keep him at RB3. I think he has 130 yards in the ground, 50 yards receiving, 3 touchdowns. So he's been steady Eddie, but Calvin Ridley, he's a dog, and this is PPR, correct? Or do we not know?
So we don't know. What I can say is I remember Dustin playing a lot of standard. So let's give him a standard answer and a PPR answer just in case.
Standard Brian Robinson, PPR, coin flip. And that's not what he wants to hear. But I'll let you guys decide, and then maybe with that I can be the final say.
On my notes this morning for Brian Robinson, I just put must start. So I cannot deviate away from what I put. Almost any running back you put against him, I'm going Brian Robinson. The matchup isn't the greatest against the Bills, but you know what? I don't care. He can. He's still going to get a nice workload. I'm going to go with Brian Robinson, and then for the second part is going to be Ridley. So he's going to actually, for me, he's going to get.
He's going to play both anyway.
Yep.
Well, he's got to pick 2. Actually,
it might be a different league.
Yeah, I think it's probably a different league, George.
Okay. Okay, then I'm going to
Um,
go London.
So I'm going Ridley. If it's PPR, I'm going Ridley. If it's standard, I'm going B-Rob in the first one. And then I'll switch it over and ask Rich, where are you at for the first one?
Yeah, look, I'm going B-Rob even if the standard or flex, because he has been involved in the passing game too the first 2 weeks. So, look, when it comes to Ridley's doing great. I mean, second week he didn't have that big of a week or anything like that. But look, it's a running back that you have that's going to have tons of touches and everything, more touches than Ridley having targets. And then on top of that, he has the opportunity to get some receiving out of the backfield. So.
All right, we'll go to a second question. We've got to pick two guys here. London, Flowers, Tutu, Woods, or JSN at wide receiver. I'm going to start where we left off. I'm going to go with Rich.
Look, I'm going London and Flowers. We've already discussed London. And then on top of that, when Flowers and everything, look, Beckham is going to be out today. So, look, he's been electrifying too these first 2 weeks. So, keep riding that Flowers train.
George, you agree?
You would have came to me as I'm chewing a grape.
Oh, sorry. I can't.
No, you're good. You're good. You're good.
Because you're covered.
It's okay. I got a big mouth. I'll push it to the side. First off, real quick, I want to go back to Ridley. Jason, what do we always talk about with the teams that play against Houston? Wide receivers, quarterbacks don't tend to do good. So that's another reason I'm going to fade Ridley there. For here, second part of the question, for me, is Drake London. I want Drake London this week.
Man, we have many forms of George. The grape eating Dionysus, like the god of wine, that George and the god of wine have more similarities than I ever thought of. And I'd love to see that form of George superimposed on some sort of T2T graphic. So I'll have to reach out to Campy about that.
Can we get somebody feeding him grapes?
Yeah, he's just got to be sitting down with like a cup of grapes, All right, but Jason, I'm going to go.
Remember that picture of you and I where our fingers are touching? Get that photo with somebody feeding me grapes. There we go.
I like it. I think Flowers is a must start this week. Him and Tutu. I think Flowers, the floor is higher, right? So I'm going, and I didn't mean him and Tutu as in start them. I'm starting him in London. But the reason I mentioned him with Tutu is because they both are very explosive and could take any ball to the house. I just think Flowers is the more likely to do that. Tutu could do that. Flowers probably will do that. Flowers is going to get the targets. Beckham is out. He's earning the respect of Lamar Jackson. And you look at that offense in Baltimore. Mark Andrews is steady Eddie. He is the guy who where he's going to be, what he's going to do. Everything outside of that is wild cards. That's kind of their identity. Lamar Jackson's a wild card. He could pass. He could run. Zay Flowers is a wild card. He could be short. He could be deep. He could be in the screen game. He could be in the jet sweep game. So he's a wild card that fits the identity of the team, and he's going to be game planned in. He's going to get a lot of touches. So I'm going with London and Flowers.
I'm actually, for the reasons you talked about with Tutu, I'm going Tutu in London. I do think that he's going to have. I'm on record now for saying that Tutu's going to have a big week. The only issue I got with Flowers is last week, it was good, but Nelson Aguilar got the touches, right? Like they've just brought somebody. Odell went down and Aguilar went in, and Aguilar got the run last week. So they got a lot of weapons over there. So
here's what I like about Zay Flowers. He leads the team in every offensive category. He leads them in targets. He leads them in yards. He leads them in route runs. He leads all wide receivers in touchdowns. He leads every offensive category you can give me for Baltimore. Zay Flowers leads. Yes, Nelson Aguilar got the touchdown last week, but we all know week to week touchdowns are fluky. So I'm taking the guy who has. There we go. We need that upper pitcher with me superimposed on there getting grapes. No, I want Zay Flowers over Tutu Atwell or Robert Woods, and JSN. Honestly, he shouldn't even be on anybody's starting roster. He should be on the bench.
All right.
Can I comment on JSN?
Yeah.
JSN, I think, is another player who you want to keep him on your bench. Don't let him go. I think he'll get hot down the stretch because he's a baller.
He's a stash. We can say he's a stash. All right. Squeaky Gamer says big spoon or little spoon. And that goes back from the comment from Patreon with Joe. Look, if you spend $1 million, whichever
Joe,
spoon you
want.
whichever spoon you want, Joe is down. All right. Drop Mac and play CJ.
I'm trying to think of who CJ is. So I'm assuming Mac is drop Mac Jones.
And play CJ Stroud?
I think I do that.
No.
I'm not playing Mac against the Jets defense. I'm not
either.
He's no Dak Prescott. He's not going to start the game 12 for 12.
So CJ Stroud is coming off a 384-yard game.
I'm glad George giggled.
The Texans run the most plays while trailing in the NFL. Jaguars have given up back-to-back 269-yard plus 2 TD scores to opposing quarterbacks. And CJ Stroud, through 2 games, has dropped back to pass the ball 109 times. Yeah, I would drop Mac for CJ Stroud.
Yeah, I'm also for sure doing that, especially with playing
I don't know about
Jacksonville.
dropping Mac Jones. If you got someone else you could drop just so you have him on your bench or something like that. I mean, if it's a must, then yeah, go ahead. But I wouldn't drop him, and maybe you'll be able to get him back depending if it's a single QB league. So it kind of really depends. Yeah. He has looked pretty decent. I mean, he's had some tough defenses he played against.
Yeah, I think, look, for what Max got around him, I think he's done a good job. But, that's half the quarterbacks in the league say they don't have enough around him. So, all right, Bobby Ham got another question for us. Jordan Love versus New Orleans, Derek Carr at Green Bay, or Baker Mayfield at the Eagles? Or Pickett at Las Vegas. Pickles is fine at Vegas. Choose one.
Pickles in Vegas.
Pickles in Vegas is a bad band name. Coach, I know you shared some love for Carr earlier. Does that extend?
Well, I was
for Love earlier. Does that extend to New Orleans against New Orleans?
Jordan Love versus New Orleans. Derek Carr at Green Bay. Baker. I'm not starting Baker Mayfield versus Philadelphia. So let's do. When I was a student, I was terrible at school because I have the attention span of a gnat. So what I was good at was process of elimination. So I am going to eliminate options here because there are 4. This is making my head spin. I'm not starting Mayfield versus Philadelphia. That interior defensive line, Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter, Fletcher Cox coming off the bench, Josh Sweat on the outside, Hassan Reddick, who's been double teamed every single snap. I'm not starting him against them. Pickett has been very disappointing. He was super hot this offseason, and he's really only got Freiermuth and Pickens right now, but I'm not necessarily saying – I think it's between, for me, Pickett and Love. Because Pickett, he could have a game, but I know Rich might have something to say about that, but if he would just need to target Pickens 8 to 10 times. Pickens can't finish the game with 4 receptions. Right now, I think the safe play is Jordan Love. I think he's the safest of the 2. I think Derek Carr and Pickett are the wild cards. Baker Mayfield is for sure a no for me. I'm going to start.
I think you're wrong there with Baker. I think Baker has a big week this week.
Don't get into it, Jason. No, go to Rich, then you go last.
Okay, Rich, go ahead.
So, look, I'm as much as I hate saying this, I'm taking Pickett against Las Vegas. As much as I would love to say the defense has gotten better, it hasn't gotten better under the coach. So, look, I'm taking Pickett. Then I would go Love, then Carr. But to me, this one's an easy answer. It's Pickett against Las Vegas, the way their defense has been playing.
And George,
I 1000% agree with Rich. This one is easy. I want to play the quarterback who is playing the team that gives up the 2nd most passing yards and 3rd most passing touchdowns to opposing quarterbacks. Like if I told you, hey, start the quarterback with that's playing that team, you'd want to start him, right? And that's why you're starting Baker Mayfield, because you know what you cannot do on the Eagles? You cannot run on the Eagles. It's damn near impossible. But you know what? That Eagles secondary is absolutely atrocious. They don't stop nobody. They have more holes in them than the Swiss cheese. You play Baker Mayfield. And I am the least Baker Mayfield pro person on this panel. but you play Baker Mayfield against Philadelphia.
So George touched on a lot of what I was going to talk about. That secondary is beat up bad. Maybe they get some guys back before Monday night. I can't say, but that secondary has been bad. Part of the reason is because they get up on teams early. I don't think that changes playing Tampa. Tampa's defense has been good, but not great. And I think the Eagles get up big early, and then Tampa has to throw the ball. On top of what George said is they won't be able to run the ball because nobody can run on the Eagles. I think the Eagles get up early, and I think Baker has to throw it too much, and that secondary can be had. And it may not be good for the Bucs on Monday night, but it'll be good for fantasy. Garbage time still counts. So,
yep.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Coach.
Can we make this a rival challenge? Jordan Love versus Baker Mayfield?
Let's do it.
You know what? Hold on.
Is this my first on the? Is this my first on the air?
I demand satisfaction.
I challenge you to a duel.
I shan't mince words with you for long. I am challenging you, sir, to a duel.
Sir, your challenge is accepted.
I accept. Now I accept your challenge.
All right, Coach. What Coach is talking about is every week we are doing a rival challenge where one of us decides to make a bet. It's going to be a $5 bet between whoever wants to take it. I am going to be taking Baker Mayfield. I don't know if George is going to be taking the $5 challenge as well. How about you, Coach? Which one of these quarterbacks are you taking again?
I'll take Jordan Love.
Jordan Love. All right. Jordan Love versus Baker Mayfield this week, $5 challenge. What I've always said is my money is going to go to a charity. It's likely going to be our BFTG charity. If I win and I take Coach's money, I'm going to take that $5, donate it to BFTG charities. BFTG charities buys toys for Tots for kids for Christmas. So, and then again, remember, if you do go to Rival Challenge and want to challenge somebody, use the code Title Tribe and you can get $25 off or an additional $25 bonus on your first deposit. And Rival Fantasy actually matches your first deposit up to $200. So if you deposit $200, they give you $200 that you can spend in bets. For every dollar that you spend, they give you that dollar back. So rivalfantasy.com/Title Tribe or use the code Title Tribe and get your extra $25. Go ahead, Coach.
And the Toilets to Titles podcast network is going to match the amount of money donated all season. So it's $5 bets. And I'm just announcing this now because I just thought of it. So it's 17 weeks. So that's, what is that? $85. So we're going to donate $100. So at the end of the season, tally up the amount. So 100 plus. How about that? 100 plus what we donate this year. So I believe it'll be 185. You guys tell me whichever charity was picked the most often. That's the one we'll donate the 185 to. Okay. So I'm pledging that right now. Toilets Titles Podcast Network on top of the 750 we donate from Frankenstank and all the other things we do throughout the year. If I win, it's going to the St. Jude's Children's Hospital.
Very cool. Very cool, Coach. All right. So that will be our challenge of the week. But for this question, Bobby Ham, it was George and I picking Baker, and then 1-1 for the other guys. One Pickett, one Love. So your choice there.
So I want to send this to Coach real quick, but Coach is not a friend of mine on Rival, so I can't.
Oh man, look me up.
All right, we'll take care of that right after the show, guys. But my son gets his weekly plug in. Hi, Eli. Thank you for joining us. Now get back to cleaning your room, please, buddy. And then Bobby says, "Go ahead." Well, so earlier in the show, we asked what tight end Bobby had, as far as why he didn't have Hunter Henry and he has Laporta.
I'd rather have Hunter Henry than Laporta at this point.
Yep. All right, this is a tough one this week. Oh, George, you were going to say something. I apologize.
Yeah, I've got an offline question coming from our good friend Armand. He's watching at home right now, but he's watching on the TV, so he cannot put it in the question. So he texted me, and it's actually a good one. Jerome Ford, DeAndre Swift, Gus Edwards, or Kendre Miller this week? You need to run.
Swift. Right, yeah. Ride what we saw last week.
Yeah, it's not going to be Jerome Ford, right? Like, let's do what Coach does. Process of elimination. We're not playing Jerome Ford against the Titans, right?
Correct.
That defense is.
I mean, if I have no better options, I'd put him at flex just because he might fall into the end zone. But I am not. I'm not.
All right. Are we trusting Kendre Miller this week? His first week out? I don't think I am.
I mean, I give him. It depends. So, what are my options? I'm sorry.
DeAndre Swift and Gus Edwards are still on the table.
Okay, so no, I'm not starting Kendrick Miller over those guys.
So then now it comes down to two guys who actually have pretty decent matchups: DeAndre Swift and Gus Edwards.
Well, Swift doesn't have a great matchup. Tampa Bay, I think, is second in the league in rushing defense. So it's not that great of a matchup, although what Swift does, catching the ball out of the backfield, probably not that bad. I mean, you have to roll with Swift after what we saw from him last week, but what we didn't see is what we're going to see this week is Gainwell's actually going to get some run. Gainwell's back on the field this week, so that makes it a little tougher for me. But of the two of those, I'm going with DeAndre Swift.
I'm going Gus Bus.
I'm leaning Gus Bus as well. No Justice Hill. Do you really think they're going to trust Melvin Gordon with the big workload? I don't. He got 3 out of 4 of the goal line carries last week, and the other one went to Justice Hill, who is no longer there. He's averaging 6.5 yards per carry, and he's going up against the Indianapolis Colts, who are not great against the run. They're not terrible, but they're not great either.
All right, you switch me. I'm going to go Gus just because he's not sharing the backfield. But you had your finger up, Coach.
You guys are going to love it when I leave the stream in about 20 minutes because I am all over the place. But I want to make an announcement. The Toilets to Titles Twitter handle or X handle is 11 followers from 2000. We are 11 followers from 2000. I would love nothing more than to gain those 11 followers by the time this stream ends in an hour and 15 minutes. I'm going to be out of here in about 20 to 30 minutes, and you guys are going to be smooth sailing without me, okay? Because I'm like a parrot. I just pop up and scream things into the airwaves. But at Toilets, 2 titles, and 2 is spelled out, T-O. If all of you listening, if you're enjoying this, if you could spread the word and help us get to 2,000 subscribers, that would be greatly appreciated.
What you guys don't understand is now that the goal has been set, if we don't hit it, he will beat us. So please go.
We won't log off. We will continue to stream.
Yeah, I'll make them without food and water. And it's not subscribers, it's followers.
I got my grapes. I'm good.
I'll send somebody over there to grab those grapes, George.
Kneecaps and grapes. That's going to be the
Joe.
show.
That's where Joe is. Joe knows is on his way. He will spoon you, but he'll also break your kneecaps. He's from Jersey.
Kneecap you as well. All right, guys, we're going to get back to it. Nate asks, Hurts or Kirk this week? Funny little thing about Kirk, he's the number 1 QB on the year. So as good as Hurts is supposed to be, Kirk has been better. I'm going to start because we're going to lose him and he's throwing random things out. There we go. 1 follow. Look, 10 away from not getting beat today. Look, let's do this.
I'm getting my grapes.
So, Coach, we'll get back to your Hurts or Kirk. I see George shoving him in his mouth.
Yeah, you better.
So you can't get him taken.
He's legitimately afraid. He's like, Joe could be anywhere. I don't want to start Hurts versus Tampa Bay. I think this game is going to be a defensive. I know you guys mentioned the Philadelphia secondary, but to go back to that Baker Mayfield, like I just think the Eagles' front 7 is so good. I don't care about the back 4. I think it's going to be tough. So I also think the front 7 for the Bucs is very good, and I think they're going to make it hard on Jalen Hurts. And Jalen Hurts, I think he went like massive amount of games without an interception, or he just had a low interception total over his last year. This year, he's already thrown 1, maybe 2. I'm not sure off the top of my head, but I wouldn't be surprised if he throws another. And Kirk, who's been number 1, is fighting for his life. The Vikings are 0-2. They're playing the Chargers, who are also 0-2. And this game is probably going to be another one of those matchups that goes down to the final 2 minutes or goes into overtime. I wouldn't be surprised if this one goes into overtime. Kirk Cousins is going to throw 3 touchdowns. He's going to throw 350-plus yards. Yes, he might throw an interception, but you're going to see points early and often from Kirk Cousins.
Frito, you agree with that?
Yeah, so if you are in the Beat the Bandito contest, I've already used Kirk this week, but this would probably be one of the best weeks to use Kirk in the Beat the Bandito contest because just like what Coach said, this is going to be an air assault from both sides and everything. So have him in your lineup because that's going to be a lot of points.
Keep in mind, if we don't hit the 2,000 subscriber or the followers on Twitter or X, Beat the Bandito might become literal. So guys, please. All right, George, go ahead.
So we talked about running quarterbacks and mobile quarterbacks against the Bucks. I think week 1 when you guys played the Bears.
No, it's
And
week 2, but yeah.
Week 2.
Last
Okay.
week.
So it was last week. Okay. So, and we talked about how bad running quarterbacks historically have done against this Tampa Bay front seven. It's not good. One of the allures for Jalen Hurts is his rushing ability, right? I'm not sure he's going to be able to rush on that Bucks defense. They're going to take that ability away from him. And now you're looking at who's going to be the better gunslinger, Kirk Cousins or Jalen Hurts. I'm going to put my money on Kirk Cousins every single time. Vegas has that game at the highest over-under at just over 54 points. So they're expecting it to be the highest scoring game of the week. I literally, for my show notes for almost every player in this game, fantasy-wise, I put must start. And that is absolutely true. You're starting your wide receivers for the Chargers. You're starting your running backs for Chargers. You're starting the quarterbacks. Same thing on the other side of the ball. You're starting your tight ends. You're starting your wide receivers. You're starting your quarterbacks for the Vikings. Start everybody in this game. It's going to be one of the games I'm looking forward to the most this weekend, as we discussed. I'm going with Kirk here.
And that'll make it unanimous, all 4 of us, for Kirk. Isn't that crazy at the start? A lot of guys picking Hurts in the 2nd round this year in fantasy, and now we're starting Kirk Cousins from the 8th round, 9th round. It's like that almost every year. Last year might have been an aberration. Rich, you had your finger up.
Yeah, real quick, just kind of on this game that we're talking about in Beat the Bandito contest. I've already submitted my lineup. I have Herbert, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, and Hawkinson out of my 5 positions going in this lineup because the potential of how high these scores could be.
I hope you get that game locally because you have a lot of interest in it. All right, we're going to move on to Jacob Fabian's question. GM, good morning, guys. New to the tribe, welcome. Thank you for being here. We really appreciate you being here. And again, if you're not following us on Twitter, go do that right now.
Is he in Gilded? Jacob, if you're not in Gilded, you're not a full tribe member. I mean, we welcome you, but you're not getting the full benefits of being in the tribe. Everybody listening at home who's not in Gilded, reach out to us, toilets2titles@gmail.com. Toilets2, titles @gmail.com. We have a group chat with over 250 people, and we're talking fantasy football, gambling, NFL, college football, 24/7, trades, lineups. You get to ask us. You have access to all of us 24/7. If you want to be fully in the title tribe, take advantage of the Gilded chat. Download the Gilded app. We'll send you the link. It's very much like, and you're in.
And listen, it's a bunch of people talking football all the time. It's very cool. There's a chat for pretty much anything, IDP even. Like, we got chats for everything. We even have a live game chat so you can talk while the games are going on. People are posting about the plays they just saw or injuries that just happened, that kind of stuff. It's very cool. Jump in with us, and I swear you'll enjoy it because I do. And Coach knows I'm not a chat guy, but I love that chat. All right, so let's get to his questions. So, Josh Kelly or Javonte Williams, half-point PPR? He's also starting Keenan and Big Mike. So if that affects the decision,
that Michael Pittman.
I'm going
to assume Mike Williams. Yeah, he's starting 2 of their wide receivers. So does that sway? Like, I like the Chargers. I don't know if I want all of the Chargers.
Shameless plug. I went out on a limb this week. So every week I do a Dudes and Duds article. And shout out to Rich and Jason, because you guys do weekly rankings, top 10 players for each matchup. So you do want to check out toiletstotitles.com, because not only do we have a start and sit article that releases every Wednesday, we have top 10 by position article that releases by these 2 guys above me. So that should help you set those lineups, because if you're a number person and you're kind of teetering on the fence, those articles help me. But I have Javonte Williams as a dude this week. And what I say was, I may be going out on a limb here since Javonte has yet to top 10 points this season, but I like his matchup with the Dolphins. He's seen a 45% snap share over the first 2 weeks. I think this is the week he gets unloaded. I think we'll see a 65% snap share. I think we'll see him get into the end zone. So I like his floor, but I also like Josh Kelly's matchup. It's just hard for me to go against my dude, but Josh Kelly going against a Vikings defense that made DeAndre Swift look like Thurman Thomas last week. Like DeAndre Swift was just crushing it, but you're starting 2 Chargers already. So I would lean Javonte Williams.
Rich, you agree?
Yeah, 100%. Look, I like Javonte Williams coming back and everything. I've been kind of on his side from the get-go. But it also helps out the fact that you do got Keenan and Big Mike playing and stuff like that. Although I have multiple people playing from that game, I'm not going to have 3 players from one offense playing in my lineup. So it could work out for you, but it could also not work out for you.
Yeah, I mean, I think the point there is only one of those guys can score a touchdown on any given drive, unless one of the wide receivers throws the ball to the other one or to, you know what I mean? But like that stuff happens, but it's pretty rare, right? So you can only, so for me, it's going to be Javonte Williams. I want to spread it out a little bit, but George, you kind of were rubbing your face down there. Do you agree or disagree?
I was with my face because my chin was itchy. So the Javonte Williams, he gets the Dolphins. The Dolphins have given up 3 rushing touchdowns and 329 yards on the ground through 2 games. He's a great start. Let me pull up Kelly. Joshua Kelly has even a better matchup though. He got 79% of the running back snaps last week. Coach talked about how bad the Vikings are and how good they made this DeAndre Swift look. That's because the Vikings ranked 31st against the run, according to PFF, and have given up the 2nd most rushing yards to running backs. So you literally have 2 really good options here. Yes, Jason.
Well, what's funny about that, and not to take anything away because it's a good rushing attack, but you know, week 1 the Vikings look stout against the run because they played the Bucs. It's literally, this is all on the back of week 2. Like this is all on the back of the Eagles, that offensive line and that rushing attack. So, you know, while they're great, that's all one game. Not the first. So like,
but
so
the 79% of running back snaps last week, like that. I mean, Javonte Williams is only getting 43. Like he's almost, Kelly's getting twice the opportunity. And you're right. They did just make DeAndre Swift look like a running back god last week. Who says that's not going to continue? So. I'm not one to put all my eggs in one basket, but for this week, I think I'm actually going to run with three Chargers here. Go with Keenan, go with Big Mike, and I'm going to pull a Jason and go Joshua Kelly. So when I'm right, I'm right, and if I'm wrong, hey, these 3 guys were right.
All right, we're going to go on to Nate, T. Higgins, or Mike Williams.
Mike Williams. I think this is by far the probably gonna be one of the easiest questions. T. Higgins, based off of what's been happening in Bengals and everything, is going to get opportunity and everything. Burrow is still kind of questionable for this game and everything, so I don't want to hinge on that. So I'm putting in Mike Williams.
Okay, so we got 2 Mike Williams off the bat. Coach, you agree?
Yeah, I'm going with Mike Williams. I want a shot at that game. I mentioned it earlier. I expect this game to go to overtime, which is kind of a pretty crazy expectation, but I think it's going to be high scoring, a lot of fireworks. I want players who are playing in that matchup.
The other thing that concerns me with T. Higgins is we won't find out about Joe Burrow until game time, and that's a Monday night game. So if it's not Joe Burrow and it's the backup, I would be kicking myself if I had the opportunity to start Mike Williams.
Speaking of which, tip from me to you, if you have Joe Burrow, go grab Matt Stafford. He's probably available in 1 quarterback leagues. Go grab him because he's a decent backup or a decent alternative for a Monday night switch out. Because if Joe Burrow's playing, I'm playing him. But if he's not playing, you'll have Stafford. And if you're playing a guy with Burrow, go grab Matt Stafford because you don't want him pivoting last second. All right, let's see. There we go. Jacob Fabian says, Lockett. A little bit lower down, guys. Jacob says he is in Gilded. So we do already have Jacob. But, you know, if you're not in Gilded and you're watching this, jump into Gilded. Again, toiletstitles.com or toiletstitles@gmail.com is the email address. You can email and we'll get you into Gilded and get in with 250 people all talking about football all the time. Jacob Fabian. Also, Lockett versus Godwin in PPR. He's got him in 2 leagues. His opponent's got Geno. So would you do Lockett or Godwin? And we'll start with George.
I think I'm going to go with Godwin over Lockett. I mentioned earlier about how the Eagles defense is so bad, right? Like their secondary is really bad. I like Tyler Lockett. I think he's going to have a good game, but I think I want to go Godwin here.
So I'll jump in because I'm a Bucks fan, and you'll see a pattern of me not picking Bucks most of the time, and I'm gonna keep that here. Lockett against a really average defense with the Panthers, and coming off a 2-touchdown performance where it looked like Geno got back on track and used Lockett to do it. I'm not jumping off the Lockett train after a performance like that. So, how about you, Rich?
Yeah, this is a real close one for me, but look, I Lockett, I'm going Lockett. Look, Metcalf, he is expected to play and everything, but he could go in this game and get injured and come out and everything, which gives Lockett even more opportunity. Where Godwin is playing aside Evans, and yeah, look, there's some holes in that Eagles defense, but I like Lockett's opportunity. He's been rolling pretty good. So,
and Coach.
Yeah, I'm going with Lockett as well. After kind of having a dud week 1, he's got 14 targets now. I think 12 of them came last week. DK is a little bit banged up. And then with Godwin, Godwin I think is a floor guy. The floor is there, but Evans has been crushing it. Evans, like anybody who, hats off to you if you got Evans at his ADP. I think he was like the 33rd. I don't know, some crazy.
He was 7th round, something like that.
He was taken as one of the later of the top wide receivers. I think he was probably taken in wide receiver, like back end wide receiver 2, early end wide receiver 3 territory. If you got Mike Evans, you're killing it. You're starting him, but I'm going to start Lockett over Chris Godwin.
And I will also pump up the Toilets Titles Network and toot my own horn a little bit, because we had mock draft Mondays, and every week I mentioned 7th, 8th round when Mike Evans went, that he was a value where he was going. He was going too late. Reports out of camp was how great he looked, how he looked better than he had in years, and how excited he was about the Buccaneers offense because they were actually scheming him open versus saying go win. They were actually scheming their wide receivers open. So I said that every week on mock draft Mondays. Go ahead, George.
Is scheming Mike Evans open is a scheme to literally take the defender and just shove him so he falls down and now you're wide open? Because that's what happened last week.
That was once, but is
that the scheme every week? Just shove the defender so I can get open?
If the flag don't get thrown, yes.
If it works, that's part of the scheme.
Coach, exactly.
If it works, it's part of the scheme. I'm just saying, so we won't get into the Bucks too much because nobody cares about that. But I will say that it was on Monday nights when we're doing that. That's the kind of stuff you get from us.
It's the mock draft laboratory, by the way.
It is. Oh yeah, mock draft laboratory. How quickly they forget when the season hits. All right. Brandon Williams, PPR. I have Henry and Muth with Waddle out. I have to play Sutton and Dell. Thinking of dropping Muth and playing Woods, KJ, or Jaden Reed. Since George is chewing, I'll start with Rich.
Oh, you could have gone to me.
I don't think I'm dropping Muth. Just roll with what you got.
Coach?
Yeah, I think so too. Those are just the options there. There's really no separation between that pack for me. I think Henry is a must start. It just stinks that Waddle's out, man. I love some Jalen Waddle. Courtland Sutton, what is it going to look like with Jerry Jeudy back? Jaden Reed, what's it going to look with Christian Watson playing? Woods has been pretty steady, but who knows? I like Tank Dell because Tank Dell is another one of those guys that at any moment he could explode, and that's points. So I love Tank Dell as a flex play. I think Jaden Reed is kind of one of those guys, so I don't want 2 boomer bust players. So I think I'm staying with Sutton, Dell, and Henry.
And George, you agree?
Nope, of course not. I am absolutely cutting Pat Freiermuth, and I would pick up Jaden Reed, and I would start Jaden Reed this week. They're going to be playing the Saints. Saints pretty decent secondary, but Jaden Reed plays the slot. So far this year, the first 2 games, the slot wide receiver, who's been covered by the guy's last name is Taylor. I don't remember his first name. He's been targeted 20 times, given up 16 total receptions, and the slot wide receiver against the Saints has averaged 105 yards and a touchdown each week. So I am absolutely going with Jaden Reed here, and I would play him over. If you have to play Freiermuth, drop Freiermuth, pick up Jaden Reed.
I'm going to go with Coach and Frito here and say stay the same. Not that I don't like Jaden Reed, and what George said is correct. However,
All valid.
while Freiermuth has been bad, he's a guy that can turn it on, has been a target monster. With the tight end landscape being what it is, I can find another Jaden Reed on the waiver wire, but I'm not 100% sure you can find. Go ahead, Coach.
Packers news for everybody listening that's invested in that game. Aaron Jones, David Bakhtiari, Christian Watson, Jair Alexander out. Jaden Reed bumps up, George.
Yep.
All right.
Well, you can find him on the way. You can find a Jalen Reed anywhere on the waiver wire.
I mean, no offense, man, but Nico Collins, Tank Dell was out on the waiver wire. Like, I'd take those guys.
Neither one of those guys should have been on the waiver wire. The problem is that the reason they're on the waiver wire is because they got a rookie quarterback, and they're both rookies. And nobody thought anybody from Houston would have any type of fantasy value at all, which is completely not true.
I'm just saying, like, Puka Nacua, Tank Dell, all these guys you find on the waiver wire, all of them better than I'm not saying that this is that Jalen Reed's bad or he's not going to be good. I'm just saying week in, week out, we're finding wide receivers. We're not finding tight ends that have any relevance. So
does Pat Freiermuth have any relevance? I don't think he does.
He will once he's not playing the two defenses he's played, when he's not playing San Francisco and Cleveland. Like, let's not pretend like they haven't played great defenses. All right.
They have, but they're irrelevant.
So this one's tough. Fantasy Football Mad Science Labs asking rest of the season flex. Mark Andrews, Breece Hall, Aaron Jones, Mike Williams.
He's asking in Frankenstein as well. It's Frankenstein settings. So Frankenstein's our listener league. Listen, if you're listening.
I mean, in that case, Mark Andrews, right? Because he's, it's super tight end friendly and there's bonuses. But the tough part about that is,
Jones is out, by the way. So
yes, Jones is out. He's not going to be. I can't do rest of the season questions because it's very matchup dependent, right? Like, there's weeks where Aaron Jones is absolutely the answer here, or Breece Hall is absolutely the answer. This week for me, it's Mark Andrews.
Well, look at it like this. Who is it easier for you to replace? A Mark Andrews at tight end or a Breece Hall or Aaron Jones at running back?
Well, I mean, this is just – he doesn't have to drop one, right? Like, this is just him asking who he should be flexing.
Who's he playing? That's it's tough for the rest of season. But when I'm looking at this question, I'm just trying to think. So it does make it difficult since you're not playing him at a specific position. But Breece Hall, man, he did nothing last week, but the Cowboys defense just punched him in the mouth, and everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the mouth. I don't think they're going to be punched in the mouth like that week in and week out. So it's Breece or Andrews for me.
Well, let's say this week. So we're just doing this week. Is it Andrew? I mean, we talked up Mike Williams. George, any Mike Williams love here? Or is it?
Yeah, Mark Andrews? This one I'm going Mike Williams. The reason why is we're Frankenstein. Yeah, it skeers a little bit more towards tight ends. He's already starting Travis Kelce, and it also skeers more towards big plays. I think you'll get more big plays out of Mike Williams than you will Mark Andrews.
There you go. And Rich.
100% going to be Mike Williams this week. And then for the rest of the season, like I said, it's a tough question, but you're always going to probably be bouncing back and forth between Andrews and Breece Hall anyways for the rest of the season, if that's the options.
All right, guys. Nick Garner. In a dynasty league, I was offered Brock in a third for Cousins and a first. I rejected it and then countered without the picks. Is that a fair deal? My other quarterbacks are Howell and Russ.
Man, he would get Cousins and a first?
No, he was offered. He's getting Brock in a third.
Oh, no way.
No, he rejected it and then was countered without the pick. So the guy came back and countered.
What a change!
Trades Kirk Cousins and he'll get Brock Purdy.
What a change! So
yeah,
Yeah, what like all. I guess shoot or shoot. I want Cousins.
In a dynasty, I think I want Brock. I think I would take in a dynasty. I would take Brock over Cousins.
So here's my answer. If you're not competing this year, then give me Brock, because we have no idea where Cousins will be next year. And we have no idea he could go to a bad situation. There's a lot of bad teams that need quarterbacks. So
he could be on the Jets next year. Like you said, bad teams.
Look, so it really depends on how you look at dynasty in year stints, 3-4 year stints and stuff like that. For the next 3 years, I'm wanting Cousins. Look, Brock is a good NFL quarterback, manages the game and everything. But if you sit down and look at, there's a reason why Cousins is number one right now in fantasy football, and where Brock is sitting at. So I want Cousins for the next 3 years.
Yeah, I think Ayuk's gone next year in San Francisco. I honestly do. I think he's going to go somewhere where I don't think they can afford him. I think he's going to go somewhere where they can actually have a quarterback who's precise and who could take advantage of his elite route running ability. George Kittle's getting older. Christian McCaffrey's getting older. I know there's question marks with Kirk Cousins and where he'll end up, but I think there's also question marks with the San Francisco 49ers and what that offense will look like with Ayuk gone, with Christian McCaffrey aging, wear and tear, George Kittle aging, wear and tear, and Debo is another guy. He's got an injury who pops up every season. So it's an elite offense right now. But what does it look like 2 or 3 years down the road? And what does Brock look like without those weapons?
So you got two of us that would say Purdy, and you got two that says Cousins. I do think, though, if you're competing this year, you got to hang on to Cousins. But with his other quarterbacks that he lists here is Howell and Russ. I don't know that he's competing. So anyway, that's 2-2. So you heard our reasons. That's a reason. And then, and then he says there, okay, let's see. William says, nice jersey, coach.
Hey, Jason, I got another question here from Armand. He wants to know, and this one's kind of gross, although I know my answer already. T. Higgins or Garrett Wilson?
Well, I think we have that in here somewhere too.
Do we?
I'm not sure, but I'm taking T. Higgins over Garrett Wilson. I can't play. Listen, and Frito's going to get on here and crow about last week. He had one catch for 68. He had one catch for 68 yards. He ended up with 2 total catches. You can be excited about that, or you can realize what really happened there. He got lucky on one catch. That the defense was bad, but they're going against a much better defense and a guy who schemes against your best players this week. But Rich, go ahead. Make me eat my crow for saying don't play Garrett Wilson last week.
No, I'm not going to make you eat your crow and everything, but guys, it's Garrett Wilson. Look, okay, so yeah, I get it. One big catch stuff, but what if he has 2 or 3 like that? I mean, it's the talent that overrides for me and everything, and where you draft him and everything. Look, I wasn't so much making that little meme that I put on about, see my decision. But look, he has the opportunity to make those plays and stuff like that. He has a high ceiling and everything. Look, even when they're playing against defenses, I think last week, some of the options that people were putting him up against probably still didn't even produce to what he did with those 2 catches.
George?
I'm going Garrett Wilson, and here's why. We won't know till Monday night who the actual quarterback is for the Bengals. So if you're telling me Zach Wilson as the backup quarterback with Garrett Wilson, or what's the backup for the Bengals? Jake Delhomme or something like that? I don't know who it is. That's how bad it's gotten. I'm not sure I want to trust the backup quarterback on the Bengals versus Zach Wilson, who at least Zach Wilson has played and started more than one game with Garrett Wilson. So I'm going to, and Garrett Wilson will be the number 1 target for his team. You can't even say that T. Higgins is the number 1 wide receiver for his team. So I'm going to agree with Rich here, and I'm going to go Garrett Wilson this week.
Except Alan Lazard was the number 1 target last week. Garrett Wilson's not even the number 1. Look, I'll take a Browning for the Bengals over what I've seen for Zach Wilson, because at least I think Browning might be able to throw the ball down the field, which Zach Wilson can't do. I get what you're
Zach
saying.
Wilson's got a hose.
Listen, okay, he might be able to launch it down the field, but getting it in the area of the receiver,
But I'm just
that's
saying,
totally
okay,
like,
that's a different conversation.
I'm not saying he doesn't have a cannon. What I'm saying is his cannon ain't accurate.
Right. Okay. Fair. But he's got he could sling that thing.
I don't know. Look, I'll take the backup quarterback against the Rams against the backup quarterback against the Patriots. The Patriots have made Zach Wilson look terrible. I think it's something like 6 touchdowns and 17 interceptions in all of their meetings. It's something similar to that. I get it. Wilson's the dude. He is a great wide receiver. It's just Zach Wilson. Coach, go ahead.
I just can't sit Garrett Wilson.
Right?
I can't.
Okay. Some news that Cam Akers, we didn't really expect much out of him switching over to the Vikings, but he has just been ruled out for the week.
So Kareem Hunt should play today, and I expect him to have a great game because he showed up to the stadium wearing a Nick Chubb shirt.
Oh, that's nice.
Oh, he's on the heartstrings.
Yeah.
Okay, so Cam Akers out. Nobody was really starting him, but just in case you had some gleam in your eye because they're playing against the Chargers and they were going to just throw him out there.
That was
I'm actually starting Madison because I think his back's against the wall. Like that's gut check. They brought somebody in this week. You were given an opportunity and you did not take advantage of it. And he might put up a dud again. But I'm just betting on the shot that he gets last licks. He has a day, and then it's downhill from here on out. And if that happens, if Madison has a day, you better ship him somewhere.
Oh yeah, as soon as he's good.
Right.
Bobby Ham says, "Are we worried about Amon-Ra St. Brown at all? He's a bit injured." So, are we injured about him? Sure. I mean, he has turf toe. I still play him, but yeah, I'm worried about it. That's not a good thing.
Man,
all right, let's see. Dustin says I've been holding JSN because of coach. He's talked about him. I talked him up all year.
Keep the faith alive, baby.
Ian says, "Who's a better Packer wide receiver rest of the season, Dobbs or Jaden Reed?" George?
Rest of season, if you're putting on a level playing field and everybody is healthy, I think it's Christian Watson, who's not named.
No, not named.
But if I have to pick between Dobbs and Jaden Reed, I'm going to go Jaden Reed.
And coach,
I'd go with Reed as well. I just think he's got the juice. I like the Dobbs. Dobbs might have a higher floor, but I think Jaden Reed will ultimately end up scoring more points because he could take the top off the defense at any moment.
And Frito,
I really like Jaden Reed.
I do. I do like Jaden Reed. It's hard for me to ignore Dub's 2 TD performance. Was it last week last week? I mean, or was that the week before?
I think it was the week before.
It was the week before. Jaden Reed had 2 TDs last week.
Yeah. So listen, some of this goes away when Christian Watson comes back. So it's about picking which one you think will stay on the field. And
real quick, just for this Vikings Chargers game, J.C. Jackson is a healthy scratch.
Who's this? Who's on the phone with JC with the Chargers? So the Chargers will be willing to eat some of that contract.
Mm-hmm.
Jerry.
Nobody. Have you seen how bad he's played? Woo!
He'll call because Dan Quinn is a wizard. Jerry's like, hey, what's the cost? All right, if the cost click, but there might be a point at which they're interested. But the Cowboys do have depth. But fellas, I got to cut out. It has been a pleasure. How about this? 5-minute warning. 5-minute warning. All right, I'm out in 5, so Jason can handle it.
All right. We'll get through some of these questions before Coach has to go. Brandon Williams says, keep Mac, drop Sutton or Boyd to play CJ. This is the one where he's got Mac and,
I would drop Mac for CJ Stroud. I would drop Tyler Boyd for CJ Stroud. take your pick. I would drop both of them for CJ Stroud.
I think Boyd's a clear drop here, but
is this one? If this is one quarterback, is this a 12-team league? And if this is a 12-team league, I gotta believe there's more available than CJ Stroud. I'd be interested to see what other quarterback is. Geno available? Because I mean, I'd be interested.
Yeah, I agree there. But
I'm gonna assume this is a single QB league and everything. And look, are you chasing the points from last week and stuff like that? He's looked good so far and everything. That would be but to me, Boyd is the easy drop.
Yeah, I think Boyd's an easy drop. Like I mentioned earlier, there's wide receivers every week on the waiver wire, including a bunch of the ones we've already mentioned. So let's see. Graham saying he's coming over from Twitter. I hope you follow us on Twitter, but thank you for coming over. He says, thanks for answering my question over there, whoever that was. And that was probably Coach, because Coach is all over the place.
Hammering away the last hour and a half.
Yeah, last night I was plugging starting set questions, and I said, hey, this would be a great question for our show tomorrow. So I was plugging playing too. So
it was either Frito or Coach, but whoever it was, you got the right answer, I'm sure. But thanks for following us over here. Like and subscribe, man. Like and subscribe. We appreciate you watching. Mini Jordan 718 full PPR. Choose a wide receiver. Christian Watson, who I think we just found out is out. Njigba, Dubs, Reed, and Josh Reynolds. Josh Reynolds had a big week last week. With Amon-Ross turf toe, that could be a thing again. But I'm going to give George a chance to say Jaden Reed.
Well, I appreciate you giving me that chance. When we seen him at the Senior Bowl, I actually told him I hope he comes to Miami, but that's not who I'm taking. I'm actually going to go with Josh Reynolds here. Let me pull him up. That's Craig Reynolds, wrong Reynolds. Here we go. Last week, after going 5 for 81, he had 5 for 80 week 1, 5 for 66, and 2 touchdowns last week. I don't expect him to get 2 touchdowns again, but I do expect Josh Reynolds to be heavily involved, especially if Amon-Ra St. Brown is affected by that turf toe. Jeff Okudah, who is one of the DBs for the Falcons, is probably not going to play. The Falcons slot cornerback gives up the 6th most fantasy points per route run versus slot wide receivers through 2 weeks. So I'm going with Josh Reynolds, expecting him to have a decent game.
I'm actually going Josh Reynolds as well, but I do want to mention that I appreciate that you don't expect he's going to stay on that 34 touchdown for the season pace.
No. I mean, 32, okay, maybe 34. No, absolutely.
He does have the great Goff throwing him the ball. Go ahead, Coach. You're next.
The great Goff. I'm going to go with Reed. I'm going to go with Reed this week.
All right, and Frito.
Yeah, I'm going Reed too. Look, Reynolds is a game time decision. Had a hamstring injury during the week and everything. So I'd rather have a healthy receiver running around than a gimped up receiver. Yeah, he can still do something, but I'm going to take Jaden Reed on this one.
All right, so that's 2 and 2. If you listen to the reasoning and you still can't pick, then I would switch over to Reed easier than one of these guys would probably switch over to Reynolds. So if you need that to make your decision. But let's see. It's Darren from Twitter and asked about the Addison or Warren. Can I hear your reasoning? Thanks. Coach, was this you? Darren?
Yeah, this was me. I just think, again, that Vikings game there's going to be a lot of points. And I think Addison's going to have more opportunities to make big plays in PPR. I think he's going to get at least 5 receptions. I think he's going to get at least 70 yards. If he gets into the end zone, you're looking at anywhere from 12 to 18 to 20 points. Now with the Jaylen Warren, yeah, he looks good, but there's still Najee Harris in the backfield, and is he going to get, if he's going to get into the end zone, he's going to have to break one of those screens or a long run because he's not going to be the guy short yardage. So Addison for me is safer.
Yeah, Warren's absolutely looked like the better running back there. He looks electric, but he also doesn't have the backfield to himself. Addison scored each of the first 2 weeks. Like I like what Addison's doing. It's coming earlier than I expected for him. I thought KJ Osborne would be much more involved, but Addison's been really great the first 2 weeks. So I'm going to go with Frito next. Addison or Warren?
He's muted.
All right. Well, before we get to that, coaches, it was nice to have you on. I know you got to run. You got a lot of stuff to do on your busy Sunday, but it was very nice to have you on. Thank you for joining us this week. Anything you want to plug before you leave?
Man, I mean, just make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel, right? We got nonstop. If you're a football lunatic like we are, even if you're not, we got you covered every aspect. Every Tuesday night, I go live with my guy Justin Stevens, 8 a.m. to about 8:40. We're talking fantasy football. Then all throughout the week, we got an NFL draft show. We got Wednesday nights, T2T After Dark. I know Rich is a part of that with Abe. So if you want to grab a beer in the middle of the week on Hump Day, I think they go live 11 p.m. Eastern. Get in the Gilded chat. So besides what we got going on YouTube, besides the Twitter handle, if you want to have access to us 24/7 and to a great community, we got some guys and girls in there that are really good people, like just cool people talking football. Email us toilets2titles@gmail.com. Maybe one of you guys can pull that up on a blurb at the bottom so everybody can check it out. Say, hey, I'm coming over from the Title Time stream. I want to be in the Gilded chat. You'll just need to download the Gilded app, then click the link that we send you to apply, and we'll approve you, and you'll be in there, and you'll be one of the Title Tribe members.
And then adding that we are now only 6 followers away on X. So we are 6 followers away from 2,000. Come be part of that 2,000. So George, Frito, and I don't get beaten by Joe.
All right, everybody. Thank you. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Thanks,
See you,
Coach.
Coach.
Thanks for.
All right, take care. Bye.
All right, and Coach is logged off. So, hey guys, Dad's away. We can play now.
Hey,
Absolutely.
so it's Addison over Warren, and here's the reason why. Look, Addison, just like everybody said, is looked good. Touchdown the first 2 weeks, but Pittsburgh and Najee are playing against the Raiders, my beloved Raiders, and everything. And I think Harris is going to eat this week. Look, Warren, yeah, it's warranted with what he's been doing and everything, but this is Harris's backfield. You have to play Addison in this case.
I agree. I agreed before Coach left. George, it's your turn.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Jordan Addison as well. On top of having a touchdown in each of his first 2 games, he's got an average depth of target of 17 yards. So Kirk Cousins is looking for him, and he's looking for him down the field. He should see more targets, as KJ Osborne, as you have mentioned, Jason, has not really been very effective through the first 2 weeks. Let's not forget Jordan Addison is a first-round draft talent. So they did take him not early in the first round, but they did take him in the first round. They're going to continue to use him. This matchup, like I said, you should be starting as many people in this matchup as you can. Vegas has it as the highest over-under of the week, and I think we're going to see 3 straight weeks of Jordan Addison getting in the end zone.
All right, that's all 3 Addison for us. I do want to say, now that Dad's not here, question I wanted to pose, and you guys can think of your answers for later. It came from something that George posted on Facebook earlier in the week. Just try and think of like what your favorite canned food is that you eat right out of the can, and then we'll talk about that later. And guys can answer that if they want in the chat. But favorite canned food right out of the can, and we'll talk about that if we get to it here at the end. But before we get to that, Stephen Middleton says, play Dameon Pierce or switch to a Sky Moore Rashid Shaheed full PPR. Man, Dameon Pierce has looked bad, right?
Yes, he's looked. So he's averaging 3.03 yards per carry, which is not good. He's only on the field for 43% of total snaps. And the reason that is because Houston gets down, and they get down quick, and they have to go to the pass. And they're using Devin Singletary as the primary pass-catching running back. So he's ineffective. He's not playing a lot. And he's being taken off the field for pass-catching when they're down most of the game. So it's bad for Dameon Pierce. If this is your flex, if I had to pick one of these 3, I think I'm going to actually go Sky Moore, which, as crazy as that sounds, I think I'm going to go Sky Moore here over Rashid Shaheed and Dameon Pierce.
So I'll go opposite of. I mean, I'm not going Pierce for the reasons you listed, and again, it's not that he's a bad running back, and it could be a good game for him playing the Jaguars. It's not like they're a great defense, right? But
Correct.
Rashid Shaheed for me has the ceiling, and I guess I probably want a ceiling versus a floor. I know Kansas City's playing against the Bears. The problem is, other than Travis Kelce, you never know week to week which wide receivers are going to have. It could be a Rice week, it could be Watson's week. You just never know. There's just too much spreading the ball around in Kansas City for me to decide that I want to take any of those wide receivers week to week. Rashid Shaheed has shown he does take the top off the ball. He is their explosive player, and I think he's a very good player. So I'm going with Rashid Shaheed this week.
Yep, same here. I'm going Shaheed. Man, before the season started, I had Pierce on a lot of situations and stuff like that, but George hit it on the nail, the way he's being utilized and everything. And Sky Moore, man, just has not done anything and everything. And even though Sky Moore has an upside too, I think Shaheed has the better upside. So for this week, I'd be going Shaheed.
All right. And you know what? Somebody down there, when I talked about best canned food, somebody said tuna. I think it was Bobby said tuna. Canned tuna don't count, man. You don't eat canned tuna right out of the can. You got to mix mayo and stuff with that. That don't count. That's not what we're talking about. I get it. Like it is the best canned food once it's prepared. It's great.
Get that out of here.
But yeah, you can't eat tuna out of the can. It's dry and gross. All right. Bobby,
taking out the can. It's all moist. It's got water. It's gross.
Yeah, you got to drain it. You can't. I mean, the kind in the oil is okay out of the can, I guess. I don't know. Keep it rolling with Komet or drop for Ferguson or Hurst. Half PPR, please, and thank you. Tight end question, George.
This is Jake Ferguson. It's not close. Cole Komet has been not very good this year, to say the least. And I don't think it's really his fault. It's just his quarterback hasn't been very good this year. Jake Ferguson, on the other hand, he's been very, very effective. I always say start your tight ends versus the Cardinals. So there's that. Jake Ferguson also leads all players in red zone targets, not tight ends, all players. That includes wide receivers and that includes running backs. Jake Ferguson, number 1 in the NFL in red zone targets. He's tied with Tyreek Hill with most targets inside the 5-yard line. Drop Cole Komet, pick up Jake Ferguson.
And Rich, I assume after all that, you kind of agree.
Yeah, I mean, I was leaning Hurst first, but after a great analyst by Mr. George over here, I am going Ferguson.
And I'll make it 3-3. Although I do want to see what Hurst does with Andy Dalton throwing him the ball around. But Hurst for me as well.
I was gonna say Hurst has an opportunity this week, and it might sound crazy. He has an opportunity to finish top 5.
No, you're right. He does. He absolutely has an opportunity to finish top 5. The Seahawks allow the 4th most receiving yards to tight ends. Like they're both great plays this week, but if you're dropping Cole Komet and you have to pick one up for season long, I want Jake Ferguson.
All right, and just to reiterate what we said earlier, they just came out on Sleeper not too long ago saying Watson and Jones are out. So, in case you missed that earlier, question coming from Helmet Boy. Also, Jerome Ford or Jaylen Warren as RB2 this week. Isn't it kind of crappy that all your best running back pickups week after week has a terrible matchup the following week?
This week is brutal for running back matchups.
With that said, I'm probably leaning Jaylen Warren because I do think he's going to be able to catch the ball out of the backfield and do something with it. Jerome Ford is probably going to get the start, but I don't like starting him against that defense. George?
Yeah, I'll tell you why the answer is Jaylen Warren. Give me 1 second. Let me pull up Jerome Ford's stats here.
Well, I know. So I'll let Because against the Titans, is that
Well,
basically the answer?
it's against the Titans. But for the seasons, the Titans have had 38 rushes for 98 yards, 4 receptions for 20 yards. So on the season, they're only giving up 118 total yards between 2 games. They have had nobody score a touchdown against them on the ground. Ford will be a volume play, but man, he's a flex at best. Like, you spent a lot of money, you spent a lot of your fab budget on Jerome Ford. You spent a lot of high waiver priority for Jerome Ford, but man, he's not somebody you can play this week. You've got to go with Jaylen Warren.
And Rich, I would guess you agree, but
Yeah, look, man, I kind of want to start Ford over Warren and everything. I think Najee's going to eat this week, and it's going to warrant. It's going to lessen what Warren does. Ford, look, he's a starting running back. If he just falls into the running, falls in, he's going to have more touches than over Warren. So that's the only reason why I want to leave Ford. But I can see your guys' case for Warren. But I will pull the Jason and do Jerome Ford on this one.
Yeah,
all right.
Warren 68 yards on 10 touches last week, and the Raiders allowed. Sorry, Rich, but the Raiders allowed the 5th most rushing yards to running backs.
I get it. I'm just going to pull
I
the
know.
Jason, though.
No, that's fine.
Listen, I can't call it unfair now since it's actually called the Jason.
We named it.
I do want to mention too for Ford, like, what's tough is it's Ravens next week, which, you know, not the worst matchup, but not the best. And then it's the 49ers. It's not for like a couple of more weeks until you get the Colts, the Seahawks, and the Cardinals.
Yeah.
So better times are coming, but it's just not, not right away. All right. Duarte 56-56. Pick one in a PPR. DK, London, or Reynolds. Guys, you know what, Rich? I'll start with you.
Yeah, this one's easy. London. DK's coming into the week a little injured. He is going to play. Josh Reynolds, the same thing. Is dealing with the injury. Is probably going to play and everything. But one thing that London isn't dealing with is an injury. So I'm taking London.
You know what?
George?
You know what London is dealing with? Arthur Smith.
Calvin and Riddler.
He's dealing with Arthur Smith. But for me, it's still going to be Drake London here. Like I said earlier, the team they're playing is bottom 10 against opposing wide receivers. 3 wide receivers have scored on the Lions. You expect it to be somewhat of a high-scoring game.
I'm probably going to take DK here. One to pull a Jason since I'm Jason.
I would say just to pull the Jason. We get it.
But listen, if he's playing, that means he's okay to play. Like, I don't think he's so bad that he's not going to be good. I think DK has a chance at a big week against the Panthers. Like Gino did get right last week, and he's playing a bad team, so I do expect them to do well. I like DK this week, and can we start a petition instead of Ritter to call him the Riddler? Because it's a riddle on whether any of their passing options are going to score this week.
No, that doesn't. No, that doesn't.
It's not close. All right. Well, I tried.
You tried. A for effort, but no.
All right. Justin. I don't know where Justin's question is because he needs one running back and one flex full PPR, but but there's no players there. I know he's got Roshan versus the Giants, so.
Justin, I would say start Roshan against the Giants, given those options.
But Roshan's not playing the Giants this week. He's playing
I know.
the Chiefs.
I don't
understand. Given your options, though, I think that's the best one you got. Justin, have you been drinking?
I think Justin. I think he busted out the grandpa's cough syrup a little early Sunday morning.
Dad left. Mom's drunk and watching. All right, Chad Rose.
Lori, come get your guy.
Chad says, "Morning, fellas. Non-PPR flex: Chris Olave, Josh Kelly, or Alexander Madison this week. Non-PPR flex. So standard." In a standard, I'm taking Josh Kelly in that matchup this week. I do think he falls into the end zone. George?
While he's frozen, I am going to back you 100% on that. Josh Kelly, non-standard. I can read his lips right now, and he's fixing to say Josh Kelly.
All right, well, that's two of us anyway while we wait till George gets unfrozen. I do also want to mention we are still 6 people away from following us on. There you go, George. Welcome back.
Hey, I'm back.
So, Josh Kelly or Chris Olave or Madison in a standard?
Chris Olave for me. This is actually no. I'm going to go Josh Kelly. Josh Kelly in a standard for me.
All right, you got to where we were, so that's all 3 of us. As
So,
William
sorry,
mentioned,
I see Chris Olave, and I was like, hyper
course
focusing.
Chris Olave.
You're starting Chris
Yeah.
Olave. Yes.
I think we all did that. Our eyes got big as we went down the line. William says, "Let's get to 2000 on X, or as I call it, Twitter." And all right, Josh Kelly or over Dameon Pierce? Yes. I have Swift as well, but I have Puka also, and I'd like to keep Swift as a pivot in case Puka is out, and that's a smart move. So that gives you two. By the way, can we talk about the Monday night games being like this? I hate 7:15 and then 8:15 start. Literally hate the way they're doing this.
People need to get over the 2 Monday night games. Listen, you got no complaints about watching, 14 games going on during Sunday, but Monday night all of a sudden 2 games is too much. Come on, people. Get with the programming. What are you doing? What are you talking about?
I want them back to back, man. Like there's
No,
we have
you
to
don't.
do this.
You do not want them back to back because the second game doesn't start then until like 10:30. And Jason, you live on the East Coast, and there's no way you're making it all the way through to the second game.
You know what would happen though, George? I'd watch more of it than I'm going to watch the second game because the Bucks are playing. I'd watch more of it in that instance than I'll even if I fall asleep at halftime, I'll still watch more of it than I'm going to watch this week because I'm going to be watching the first game.
Come on, everybody. It's 2023. You watch one game on your TV, you watch another game on your little device that you have on the side, man. It's perfect.
I can do side by side at the same time, but like still it's I don't like that for my I don't like that for my primetime matchup. I want them back to back. Graham says he followed us, so one follower closer. Rest of the we did this one already. Start one running back. Swift, Najee, Ford. Swift for me. Not even close.
Swift. Yep. Bob, dude, this is Swift.
I'll go Swift. Najee's real close for me.
Yeah, I agree. It's close.
Najee's just looks so bad, guys.
He's played rough defenses.
Put Najee in your flex. What other option you have?
I'm just saying, I've seen George run. I've seen Najee run this season. It's pretty damn close.
It's not close. I'm way faster.
That's a good point. Need one running back in a flex. Hey, Justin finally sobered up. Need one running back in a flex, full PPR. Roshan, he hasn't sobered that much because Roshan's not playing the Giants. What are we doing? Okay. Roshan versus the Chiefs. Tajay versus Cleveland. Chuba versus Seattle. Let's see. He needs a running back, so let's start there.
If I got to start a running back from this group, it's going to be Chuba Hubbard.
Yeah, he's getting more snaps than everybody else on this list. He's speaking of a guy who's looked fast. Years past, Chuba did not look fast. This year, he actually looks fast. So I'm going with it. Hubbard for me.
All right. I'm going Roshan.
All right, 2-1 there. Now you have a chance to flex one of these guys. Robert Woods, Brandon Cooks, Elijah Moore, Josh Downs, Jaden Reed. I like Elijah Moore, but he's been off. I'm going to start Jaden Reed against New Orleans versus this group.
Same.
All right, that's 3. Although, you're an Indianapolis fan, start Josh if you really want to root for somebody. But again, Jaden Reed for the 3 of us. Justin says Ford versus Tennessee, White versus the Eagles. That is disgusting on a lot of levels.
White versus Philly only because it's a full PPR. And White, I expect him to be involved in the passing game.
I will agree there, but man, that is gross and tough. Zach Wilson, it keeps getting worse. Zach Wilson versus New England, Tannehill at Cleveland, Minshew at Baltimore. I do have to mention, Justin, you should watch this show more often because your options would be much better if you watch this in the off season. But George, go ahead.
It's going to be Minshew here. He completed 71% of his passes last week in relief of Anthony Richardson. Ravens will be down 2 starting DBs, Marcus Williams and Marlon Humphrey. So I'm going to go with Gardner Minshew, who has been hyper targeting Michael Pittman. When he came in last week, he targeted him like 9 times.
And you agree there?
Yes,
Rich?
100%, 110%.
All right, so this I'm going to call the Rich special because it's the start your guy question of the week. Start your guy question of the week. Jamar Chase or Garrett Wilson?
In this case, it's Jamar Chase.
George?
No doubt. Hey, you drafted Jamar Chase before Garrett Wilson. It feeds right into what I keep on always saying.
No, I listen, as bad as Garrett Wilson has been previously with Zach Wilson, he's done more than Chase this year. I'm still playing Chase. And actually, if it's a backup quarterback with George Frozen down there, I play Chase even more because what do backup quarterbacks do? They focus in on their best weapon.
Yep.
The best weapon on the field, even though he hasn't looked at so far this year, the best weapon on the field is Jamar Chase. So George is joining us back once he gets his phone working. It looks like his laptop Wi-Fi wasn't working, so he's I see him down there adjusting the camera, looking real pretty. Whenever he's ready to jump on in, he can answer this question. Go. Well, oh yeah, he can't bring himself in. There you go. Thanks.
Couldn't bring myself in on the phone. Sorry.
Jamar Chase or Garrett Wilson, George?
Oh, this is Jamar Chase.
Absolutely. That was 3 of us. All right. Justin, full PPR, need a flex. Woods, Cooks, Ertz, or Pirine? I'm gonna start with George.
So if my computer was working, I would tell you why the answer to this is Zach Ertz. Currently, it's not working properly. That's why I had to jump over to the phone. But the answer will be Zach Ertz.
So for George, Zach Ertz leads the team in targets, tied for 12th amongst all players in the NFL for receptions, and only TJ Hawkinson has more tight end receptions than Ertz. Cowboys have given up 50-plus yards to tight ends in back-to-back games. There you go, George.
There you go, George. Yeah, I'm going Ertz here as well in a full PPR. Early in the offseason I would have said Pirine's your guy, but he just hadn't been getting it done.
Yeah, Ertz is a pick, and hopefully it's a tight end premium.
And then Jacobs comes back and says, I'm in Gilded, so thank you for joining us in Gilded. Guys, if you're not in Gilded, toiletstitles@gmail.com to email to get in there. Chris says he's here, so very cool.
Well, we're glad you're here.
Also, are we expecting a big Musgrave week then this week with the Packers that are out?
No, I'm not expecting a big week from him.
I'm not chasing that either. I mean,
yeah,
Love's going to the wide receivers.
Giving up 20 yards to tight ends on the season.
Yep.
Yeah.
Bench.
All right. Let me see. Madison stinks or the Vikings line stinks? Can't the answer just be yes?
I think it's more Madison than anything, but we'll go with yes.
Graham says Amon-Ra or Jamar Chase. This one's tougher for me, guys.
I have these problems, right? Because I want to play both of these guys. Who are you sitting? Who are you starting over both Amon-Ra and Chase? Like, who's your wide receiver 2? Is it Puka? Because that would make sense. Between these two, I'm going to go with Amon-Ra just because I don't really know what's going on with Jamar Chase's quarterback. I know what's going on with Amon-Ra's quarterback.
Yeah, look, so this is, I'm sure you guys have seen these pictures on X of everybody saying, hey, I have an 0-2 team with this lineup. And in this lineup, he has Amon and Jamar Chase and everything. And that's just par for the course of fantasy football. These things happen and everything. So the fact that you have them and the fact I'd like to know who you're sitting, that you're not starting either one of that you can't start both of them. But in this case, Jason kind of hit it on the nail earlier. I think I'd rather have Jamar Chase because even if it's a backup, They're going to focus on him. It's a Monday night game. And then on top of that, if it is Burrow, I like to think that they're going to focus on Jamar Chase to get him going too. So Jamar Chase's health, Almon is dealing with the injury. So I'm going Jamar Chase here.
Jason's trying not to let home film.
I'm not gonna be able to hold it back, so I'm just gonna go ahead and laugh because that was some great content. That's gotta be a short this week. All right, I'm gonna say Jamar Chase. I'll make it 2-1. I'm gonna say Jamar Chase. Look, I love Amon-Ra St. Brown. In a PPR, he Amon-Ra is not just the sun god, but he's a PPR god. But dealing with turf toe and then having to choose between him and Chase. Again, if it's a backup quarterback, I like Jamar better, not because I think he'll be better than Burrows, don't get me wrong, but I do think a backup quarterback feeds his number one target, and I think the number one target there should be Jamar Chase. So that is what I'm going with there. Tony Jones Jr. versus Green Bay or Isaiah Pacheco versus Chicago? Go ahead, George. Say again.
This is Isaiah Pacheco all day.
I tend to agree as well. Isaiah Pacheco for me. Frito?
Yep. Pacheco.
Yeah, with Miller coming back, you don't know what Jones Jr.'s usage is going to be. He actually looked pretty bad last week. He did get the touchdown, but I think it was like 2.7 yards per carry, something like that. He wasn't good. That running game in general hasn't been good. It made Javonte Williams look bad, who now is on the IR. Hopefully Kamara can – I mean, I don't say this as a Bucs fan. I don't really want this, but as a fantasy football player, hopefully Kamara can spark that run game. And then for Derek Carr's sake as well for Frito. So let's see. Everyone on the Chargers defense is playing bad. I think it's because their defensive guru head coach stinks. Well, yeah, that's been a thing for a while.
Well, Nate just hates everybody. That's what it is.
Nate is grumpy as hell, which is awesome.
By the way,
Justin says mom's still watching.
Hi, Mom.
All right, so we're gonna go ahead and address this now. We talked about tuna earlier. It can't be tuna because I said eat it straight out of the can. Tuna doesn't come prepared straight out of the can. So it can't be tuna. SpaghettiOs.
I got one vote on the side over here for Vienna sausage.
So I will be honest, I just bought a bunch of I've been doing lower carb, so I just bought a ton of Vienna sausages for snacks, and I'm on board with Vienna sausage, though it's not my favorite out of a can if I had my druthers. So we got tuna. SpaghettiOs is a solid number one. Nate says pears or pineapple, which get that out of here. Listen, I get it. Fruit's delicious out of a can. Don't get me wrong. But if it's not processed garbage, it can't be 101 here. Let's see if I got any other ones here. Nate says I'd rather eat wood chips than tuna. I get it. Justin says I used to eat tuna right out of the can. That tracks for what we know about Justin. All right, George, give me your number one.
So I'm going with beef ravioli. It's what I had the other day. It's what sparked this whole conversation. I was picking up stuff for dinner, walking down the aisle, and there was delicious Chef Boyardee beef ravioli staring me in the face. I was like, damn, I want some beef ravioli. So I brought it home, opened the can, took the fork right out the can. Didn't heat it or nothing. Didn't need it. It's absolutely delicious.
Rich, okay, so we got ravioli. Rich, you're next.
Green beans.
Green beans?
Rich,
okay.
Rich, just for that. Green beans out of the can. Again, it can't be green beans. All right. I am gonna say so ravioli is like my 102. Beefaroni is the number one. Two things. One, I'm a monster and I like to put my cans in the fridge and then eat them cold out of the cans. That's number one. Two, what you do afterwards, you don't throw away the can with the sauce in it. You take your bread and you sop it up like a man. You take your bread, you dip it in the can until all of that delicious juice is gone. Okay, so we'll get back to these questions. Tuna have a can, London playable. Yeah, depending on your options, London is definitely playable. Talent occasionally wins out, even with an offense that. Let's see. Titans have 4 defenders out this week. Ford gets majority of the work. So going back to Ford, yeah, I get that they have players out, but even then, that coach will have them ready. And let's see. Rival bingo prize pool is almost to bingo prize pool is almost to $1,200. I did mention earlier that Justin did win bingo last week, and he has been pumping up Rival Fantasy Bingo. Again, rivalfantasy.com/toilet tribe. Go ahead, Rich.
I got 5 bingo cards this week, so I'm going all in on that too.
And George.
I got 5 bingo cards as well.
I'm gonna go get me some as soon as I've got to do our challenge with Coach when we get off of here, and then I'm gonna be. It's what's tough is every week now I've got to go set up all my lineups, and I have to go play some Rival Fantasy as soon as this show is over. Let's see. The Tootsie Pop 6 says, "Want to say you're doing great." Well, hey, you're doing great too. Thank you for watching. Let's see.
Yes, thank you for being part of the Gilded too.
Mom says, "I vote yes to calling him the Riddler, but you're drinking, so he can't take your." If Dad would stop leaving, Mom would stop drinking. Well, that's true. Dad's off cheating on us. Let's see. Really appreciate your time and efforts. That's Bobby Ham. Gonna make some ham and tuna sushi rolls. That's disgusting. Here's a food that you can't eat out of a can, but if we're talking tuna, Spam, Spam is a delicious food in a can as well. Let's see.
Sausage and gravy. That's a good one out of the can.
I love 2 Monday night games, but I'm with Jason. Start them at 6:30 and 9:30. Thank you, Justin. Thank you.
6:30 and 9:30 are doable, but the current format, they're not.
All right, let's see. Would you rather have Reynolds over Sutton this week? I'm guessing this week.
I would rather have Sutton. Or
Yeah.
no, I'm sorry. I'd rather have Reynolds over Sutton.
No,
It looks like
Sutton.
I am taking Reynolds. So 2 for Reynolds, 1 for Sutton. 6-point touchdowns, -1 for interceptions. Matt the staff over Justin the field this week.
Yeah.
I am taking I'm going to go one more week with Justin because this week he said he's going to stop thinking so much, and that can only be good for him because watching him think on the field has not been good.
The beautiful thing about this question is Justin Fields doesn't throw, so you shouldn't get any 1-point interceptions. So that's the best analogy I could give for this one.
And George, you were going to say
the problem with Justin Fields is though his biggest attribute is rushing the ball, and through 2 weeks he's only had 3 designed rushing plays. So they're not even using him to run the ball. Like they should be designing 5 to 6 rushing plays a week for this guy, with as talented as he is with his legs, but they're just not doing it. This new coach is refusing to allow him to use one of his best attributes, which is his mobility. So if you're telling me Justin Fields is not rushing the ball, I have 0 interest in him as a passer.
All right. Let's see. We're going to get through these questions because we got like 6 minutes left.
Let's burn them. Turn them and burn them. Turn them and burn them.
-4 points for interceptions, -1 for a sack, and then a 1/4 point for completion. Minshew or Tanny?
Minshew.
Minshew.
And Minshew for me as well. Joshua Musa. Would you guys start Gus Edwards, DeAndre Swift, Gabe Davis, or DJ Moore this week? George. Let's assume half-point PPR.
I would start Gus Edwards, then DeAndre Swift.
Rich?
Yeah, I'll go that.
Okay, I was going to say Swift and Edwards, but it's 2-1 Gus.
It's the unknown of Kenny Gainwell. We don't know how they're going to use both Swift and Gainwell. We would like to think that they're going to use Swift, in more of a role than what they did last week, or like they did last week. But we don't know because Kenny Gainwell wasn't there last week. And the only week we've seen with both of them healthy on the field was week 1, and DeAndre Swift got next to no run.
I have to address this real quick. How is Vienna sausage okay, but tuna isn't? You don't cook Vienna sausage. You don't prep Vienna sausage. You take a Vienna sausage out of a can, you pop it in your mouth, and you chew on it. That's all you have to do. Tuna, you have to put mayo and egg and salt and pepper to make it edible. You can't do that out of a can.
Little relish.
A little bit. Yeah, a little right. You have to do stuff to tuna. With Vienna sausage, you just open that bad boy up and you shove as many of those in your mouth as you can get. Brandon Williams, 1 quarterback league. CJ, Baker, Minshew, Pickett, Howell. I think I'm going CJ here. I like Baker as a good play this week, but CJ's got a good matchup, and he's been on fire, and that team gets down quick, so he has to throw the ball. I'm going CJ.
To be honest with you, all these QBs have great play options this week and everything. So I think we're going to all be split on this one. I'm actually going Minshew.
And George.
Yeah, I was going Baker, but they're all great options, believe it or not. Just to split the
to break the tie.
Here, I'll go with CJ as well.
He's
leading the league in pass attempts.
Listen, I knew you'd switch off Baker as fast as you could if you got the opportunity.
No, I like Baker. Listen, I know I gave you shit in the offseason about Baker, but I actually kind of like him this week as well.
Cranberry sauce from a can is underrated. I do like cranberry sauce from a can.
Yes,
I don't know if I've ever eaten it directly out of the can, but I am gonna throw some in the fridge and do that. Justin says, "Give me an MRE." Those are cans. That counts. That's twice. That's my favorite thing that happened this week.
There we go. Do this, it won't happen again.
Carla says, Tootsie Pop 6, great to see you in here. I think we're at the end of our questions. We got one last one here. Reynolds or Sutton rest of season?
Oof. That's so hard rest of season because there's so much that can go on between now and the end of the season. Like we could
so let's do this. Instead of saying rest of season, George, let's say it like this. I have Sutton. Do I drop him for Reynolds?
I think I do.
And Frito?
No, I don't.
I think I do with the way that offense has been playing. I think Reynolds is a solid second option. The only real issue, and again, this is how it gets to the rest of the season, is when Williams comes back, what does Reynolds look like?
I was just thinking that.
But
this is actually a great board bet. If one of you guys want to take me up on it, Sutton finishes higher than Reynolds PPR.
Look, so Justin's saying you cannot. Okay, here we're gonna put this to bed. This is the last thing because we don't have any more questions. This is the last thing. Yes, you can prep and cook any of these goods, but you don't have to. Just like tuna. What I'm saying is, tuna not prepped, not cooked, deserves to be in the trash straight out of the can. You have to do these things to tuna to make them edible. You don't have to do anything to beefaroni, to ravioli, even to green beans, although salt is usually helpful. But to make tuna decent out of the can, you have to put mayo, you have to put mustard, you have to do something.
To Justin's point, real quick, is nowadays, just like I said earlier, 2023, they make tuna different flavors now, so you can't eat it straight out of a can.
But it's not in a can; it's in a pouch.
Okay.
They pouch that stuff to keep it fresh. And then KC 1324, should I be worried about Aaron Jones long term with his hammy injury? Absolutely. I mean, it's a hammy injury, and it's kept him out 2 games. That they're being smart with him and keeping him for down the stretch. But yeah, I'd worry about it, George.
Yeah, Kelvin, I would be a little concerned about that hamstring injury. It's one of those things where it's a soft tissue injury. And they're easily re-injured unless they get the proper rest, which is what they're doing now. They're making him sit. But yeah, it's something I'm concerned long term for the remainder of the season about because hamstrings are so easily pulled once you pull them.
And then Justin jumping in, grade 1 on hammy according to the fantasy doctors. He should be good to go by next week. Listen, he's probably back next week, but I just worry about re-injury. We see what we saw with we've seen with several players this year what a hamstring injury does, and then how it can be aggravated. We've seen that. We saw it with Cooper Kupp. Obviously, his was worse. But it's not like Aaron Jones is a spring chicken.
Yep. Yeah, so hopefully none of your teammates that you play against watches, and just wait for them to have that huge week and trade them off.
And then, not my point, Rich. Regular tune out of the can is good enough to be drafted. Last. We're talking about the best, not last. Do they deserve? They are in a can, so they should be drafted eventually, but not first. It's not a hard point to make, guys. All right, you know what? It is past 12:30. I've got Rival Fantasy to go do. I've got some lineups to go set. So I do want to mention we are now only five followers away. So guys, get ready. Joe's coming to your houses. But we are 5 away from getting to 2,000 on Twitter. So if you enjoyed what you saw, if you want more of us, go to Twitter, Toilets to Titles, and follow us. Also, you can follow us on YouTube, toiletsTitles.com/YouTube. Hit the like and subscribe button. That way you get all of our content. We have 17 shows going throughout the week, starting Sunday morning and going all throughout the week. Regular NFL fantasy regular NFL content during the day, fantasy content at night. We have the overnight show. We have DFS, gambling. We have a soccer show, which was interesting to find for sure.
We have a soccer.
Justin says it's exactly. Justin says it's at least round 3. If the draft only goes 3 rounds and somebody's taking their favorite, absolutely it should be at least round 3. And then also patreon.com/toilets-titles. Again, we have tiers for every salary, $1.50 up to whatever you want to pay for Joe to come spoon you. So, we've got it all for you. Gilded, if you want to get into Gilded, toilets-to-titles@gmail.com. Email us. We will get you in our Gilded chat. We have 250 members talking about football all the time. We're doing start sit in there. We're doing trade advice in there. We're doing everything you need in there. So come join us on Gilded as well. Anything I'm missing, guys? George, Frito, anything you think I missed that we should be plugging?
No, man, you did an awesome job.
I know one thing you miss.
Go ahead, George. All right, guys. With that, have a great week. Enjoy your Sunday football, and we will catch you next time.